podcast made by basketball fans for basketball fans. From the hottest takes, news, analysis, and passion for the sport that we all love, this is the Fast Break Pod with Finn James and Will Tremaine. Welcome back into the Fast Break Podcast, the podcast made by basketball fans.
For basketball fans.
My name is Finn James.
My name is Will Tremaine.
And Will, episode 7, we're here, and a massive episode on the way, of course.
Should we say it again? We've made it. Episode 7. Didn't think we'd be here, but we're here.
We're going to say that every episode, aren't we?
Yeah, we are.
Yeah, we might.
Until we get like 1,000 views. So if you want to hear us shut up, then, you know, keep hitting that view button.
Fair enough. How do we start each episode, Will?
We started with a bit of world news. Going down tonight, Sunday night.
I mean, it'll be done by the time the pod goes up.
But the NRL Grand Final, Finn, you're a bit more of a league geek over here. So what are your thoughts on the final?
I wouldn't say I'm a league geek. I like the Warriors. I will watch the game. So Melbourne Storm, Penrith Panthers are the top two teams in the NRL this year. Melbourne were the top of the leaderboard at the end of the season. So the minor premiers up against the Penny Panthers, who could win their fourth championship.
Is that in a row?
Fourth premiership in a row, led by, of course, the one and only Nathan Cleary. Could probably go down as the GOAT by the end of his career. He's just an outstanding player. Who do I think is going to win? I think Panthers get this 1-13. I hope that doesn't bite me in the bum. It's going to be a good game for sure, and we'll definitely be watching this after the pod is all wrapped up.
Well, I'll be rooting for Melbourne. I'll have a good underdog story. Even though I don't watch the most league, I'll tune into some Warriors games.
It's not even an underdog story, though, because they were the best team in the league all year. But
the underdog against the Panthers.
I think they might be. I think the Panthers might be the slight underdogs.
Really,
it's very close. The betting markets they're pretty hard to split at the moment, so it's going to be a really close game. It's going to be very entertaining. What else has been going on, Will?
Well, we just want to give a quick shout out to Dikembe Mutombo. Very sad news coming out of the NBA. He passed away from a form of cancer,
brain cancer.
Very young, only 56 years old.
Yeah.
So one of the best shot blockers of all time in the NBA. Mm-hmm. It's sad to see him go this early. So just wanted to give a shout out to him real quick.
Yeah, fair enough. Shout out to Dikembe. Left I feel like a decent impact on the league. Yeah. African basketball as well, for sure. In terms of other news, Taranaki beat Tasman for the Ranfurly Shield this afternoon in the NPC. It's the final round of the NPC rugby before the playoffs. So shout out Taranaki for getting up over Tasman. Tasman had the Shield for about 4 weeks. And, Taranaki getting it back in the last round, they'll be taking it back to the Naki. So good on them. 42-29 win for them. And Will, UFC 307, big fight-ish, I guess you could say, today. Let us know your thoughts.
Yeah, so just wrapped up. This is live reaction of UFC 307 in Salt Lake City, Utah. So fighting at elevation always plays a very big impact on the fighters. The ones who train at elevation always tend to have the advantage. And you definitely notice it. And you noticed it in that main event as well. Khalil Roundtree, the challenger, fighting Alex Pereira for the light heavyweight belt in what was Pereira's fourth title defense, I believe. He started off brilliantly. He dropped Pereira in the second round. He also caught him with a real nice head kick and some good body shots. I thought he was up 2-0 after the first 2 rounds, and we were on track for a bit of an upset. But Alex Pereira, charmer, as he does, just walked Khalil Roundtree down in that third and fourth. He started to gas out, Khalil Roundtree did, and Pereira just put on a brutal finishing sequence, ripped him to the body, some uppercuts in there, and Khalil Roundtree's face, it was not a nice sight to see after the fight. He was beaten up, you could say. So fourth round, TKO, KO by Alex Pereira. He's continuing to look like one of the best fighters in the world at the moment. And I love how active he is. This was his third defense in 7 months.
Wow.
He's the only champion who seems to be fighting every 3-4 months. So great to see. He's starting to become one of my favorite fighters.
What's next for him? Is there any chance he goes up another weight class?
There were rumors about that at one point, but he said in his post-fight interview that he's liking his time at light heavyweight. He wants to continue there. He's got some few challenges ahead. Magomed Ankalaev, a lot of people think he was passed over for this current title shot. He's the number one guy. He's got a fight coming up, but if he can get through that guy, then he will most likely be next in line. A Dagestani, a bit like Khabib, a wrestler. So we'll see how Pereira does against a wrestler, because we haven't really seen that yet. But yeah, lots to look forward to in the UFC. Lots of big fights coming up, Finn. Cool. Max Holloway.
Oh, yeah.
Big guy. Had that iconic pointing in the middle of the octagon.
For the
knocked out Justin Gaethje.
What was the belt called?
The BMF belt.
Yeah, the bad. Yep. BMF. Yep, that's the one.
So yeah, lots happening in the UFC world. But let's get into the NBL news from around the league. There's been quite a few games. Not the Breakers though.
Well, they did, but not in the NBL.
Yeah.
But in terms of, I think we're in round 3 now. Some very exciting games in Australia for sure. Will, do you want to kick us off?
Yeah. Adelaide 36ers got the upper hand on the Southeast Melbourne Phoenix, 93-83. Matt Hurt, he's looking like the only bright spot for Southeast Melbourne at the moment. He had a 32-piece, 11 for 20 from the field. So he is carrying that team on his lonesome at the moment. We haven't seen much from Derek Walton, who I thought was going to have a great year. And Nathan Sobey, he played great against us the other week, but he was a bit quiet in this one. Adelaide, led by Kendrick Davies, Isaac Humphreys, and DJ Vasiljevic. They combined for 65 points.
Damn.
And Montrez, he's getting healthier by the day, getting better, getting those reps in. He's going to keep slimming up. I think Adelaide are going to be a sneaky pick for that top 6 by the end of the season. So
it's funny because we thought they were going to be a bottom 3-2 team in the NBL, and they're already proving us wrong. So very interesting from Ken's standpoint.
Next game of the round, you want to break that one down for us, Finn?
The Kens Taipans. Sorry, I must have said the Kens before. Sorry, not Kens. Adelaide, we thought we were going to be a bottom 2-3 team in the league, but they're proving us wrong. Sorry. Apologies, team. Kens, here we go. Kens Taipans played the defending champions, Tasmanian Jack Jumpers, a 90-78 win there. This is why I jumped the gun a bit early. Taron Armstrong, the 22-year-old point guard who me and Will talked about briefly in maybe some other episodes. He didn't start the year because I think he was a little bit injured, but he's come out and firing as well. A 20 piece from him, 9 from 10 from the field shooting. You love to see that from a young guy. And Kens get a win over the Tassie Jack Jumpers, who have won a few games. They've beaten Melbourne and they've lost against somebody like Kens. Really poor shooting performance from them. 36% from the field for the whole team there. Milton Doyle still looks good, but just not shooting the best, so I'm sure he's still trying to get his way back into his groove. He's an MVP caliber player almost. Had a really good year last year. So it's good to still see him putting up some decent numbers, just efficiency's a little bit low. So 36% from the field definitely was a defining factor for Tassie not to get up over Kens here. So yeah, 90-78 win for them. And a big upset, I wouldn't call it an upset, but a big surprise the following game that night as well, Will.
Yeah, Melbourne United. Obviously, they were in the final last year against Tassie. They absolutely blew out the Perth Wildcats, who Finn and I both thought were going to be one of the best teams this season. 97-68. The biggest win in an NBL game this season by far.
Easily.
Absolute domination. They held Bryce Cotton to 5 points. He was 2 for 10 from the field. So if you're going to do that to arguably the best player in the league, then you're going to have a very good shot at winning and blowing them out in that regard. Ian Clark, he was the guy for Melbourne. He had 25 points. Very efficient. 66% from the field. So Melbourne, continuing that form from last year by the looks of it. I think they're a lock for that top 6.
Yeah.
And they're quite a stacked team as well, a bit like Sydney. So hopefully Perth can turn it around, but it's looking like Bryce Cotton he's looking like their only guy really, and Keanu Pinder as well. But aside from that,
a quiet game.
It's looking rough for Perth.
Yeah,
start of the season.
Pretty shallow team, it seems like. I mean, we saw it early on when we played them in the preseason. I think we only lost by 6 to them at the Blitz.
And that was only
because Bryce Cotton and Keanu Pinder both had huge games.
Yeah.
So basically, you shut one or either of them down, and chances are you're probably going to get a dub against Perth. Which is, it's not like you want to see because Perth, like we've said, a very dominant team. Bryce Cotton MVP last year, so
I think there'll still be a shout for that top 6.
They should probably make the play-in tournament.
It's going to be definitely from the heavy carrying by Keanu Pinder and Bryce Cotton.
Absolutely. And moving on to the next game, Adelaide, carrying on their form from their earlier game against Southeast Melbourne, they got a 102-100 win over the Hawks. Who the Hawks have looked unreal this season so far.
Yeah.
Obviously led at the helm by Justin Tatum, but a 102-100 win for the Hawks. A big upset in my opinion. I thought the Hawks were probably going to have a pretty easy win here. I had them 11 plus on my multi, so Adelaide just completely spoiled my multi.
2-0 on the week for them as well.
2-0 on the week. 102-100 win. Back and forth affair. It didn't seem like any team was going on a huge run. It was just continuously back and forth. Kendrick Davis, 32 points on the night, Will.
He's looked incredible this whole season.
He has.
The Illawarra Hawks, they got a bucket, big three, towards the end of the game, and Kendrick
Tyler
Davis
Harvey
was just like, hold up, give me the ball, came down the court, just hit like a step back, deep three, iced the game.
Basically, yeah.
He's looking phenomenal. I think he's been probably the best player in the NBL so far this season.
Wow, yeah, he's looked unreal. And Montrezl Harrell into the starting lineup finally. We knew he wasn't going to be on the bench for very long. So he finally got injected, and he's producing pretty good numbers as well. Decent. I think he's averaging maybe 12, 13 points a game. Looking really hard to guard on the rebounds as well. Obviously a huge dude, 6'9", very athletic. So Adelaide, 2-0 on the round, and but unfortunately, I don't know how good they're going to be this year, because if one of the big, I say four, with DJ Vasiljevic, Isaac Humphries, Montrezl Harrell, and Kendrick Davis, one of them gets injured. There's not really a lot of talent outside of them. So one of them goes down, they're going to be in a bit of trouble indeed, because there's only going to be three of them to kind of pull their weight for Adelaide. So chances are one of them gets injured, which no one wants to see injuries in basketball. No one wants to see that. But they all stay healthy and continue to gel together, and Kendrick Davis is putting up numbers like this. They could also very much surprise me. I thought they'd be a pretty weak team this year. But they're proving me wrong. 2-0 against some pretty strong teams in this round. So shout out Adelaide. It'll be exciting for when they turn up against the Breakers. It'll be a pretty good game. I don't know who's going to stop Trez, but surprising me already. Taco full. Maybe. You never know.
Maybe. But yeah, you're right. I think Adelaide, they have one of the strongest starting fives in the NBL. But like you said, they're really lacking that depth. They don't have a bench at all. So... you need a good bench in any basketball league around the world if you want to succeed. So they're going to have some guys stepping up from those bench roles. But yeah, top 6 team, I think it's likely at this point.
I agree, yeah.
But moving on to the next game of the round, we had the Brisbane Bullets versus Sydney Kings. Brisbane putting up a good effort against a stacked Sydney Kings team.
Stupidly stacked.
91-82 was the final score for Sydney. Kele Lupepe, did I say that right, Finn?
I think you did.
Yeah, he was impressive in this game. 23 points, along with Xavier Cooks, the main guy for that team. He had a 23-piece. Bit of a quieter night from guys like Isaiah Liafa. He was scoreless on the night.
I feel like he's been struggling this year.
Yeah, I thought he was going to go over there. He had a great year with the Breakers last year.
Yeah, he did.
And I thought he was going to go over there into a very prolific role for Sydney.
Yeah.
He's a 3-and-D guy.
He's been
struggling so far, but I mean, if you have a guy struggling on that team, there's just going to be another guy stepping up.
Yeah.
Cam Oliver continues to be one of the best players in the league, and he's coming off the bench.
Still.
Which is crazy.
Does blow my mind. He only had 9 points on the night, but when you have that much firepower and you have two guys scoring 20, there's not enough ball to go around for them all to score.
Not to mention Jalen Adams
Jalen Adams is still there.
So.
It's crazy. This Sydney team, we've said it from the start, this is the most stacked team in the NBL by a country mile. One person steps down that doesn't have a good game, and you have somebody like Kelly Lou Pepe who's just going to drop 23 for you on a night, which is ridiculous. So one guy drops down, it's a next man up mentality for Sydney, because they have so much talent. I don't see how, obviously they haven't won every game, they have dropped a game, but chances are they're going to be near the top of that ladder by the end of the year, just because they have so much talent. One person goes down, another person will just step up. So it's not surprising just to see someone like Kelly Lou Pepe drop a cool 20-odd points. Haven't seen it all yet.
Not even a top 5 player in the team.
Probably not. Yeah, he does start, but man, there are some absolute guns on that team for sure.
You know what I would have loved to have seen, Finn? The Breakers have gone over on this NBA tour. I would have loved to have seen another team go with them. And the Sydney Kings, I think if Sydney Kings played a team like the Washington Wizards, sorry to all you Washington Wizards fans out there.
Yeah.
Not the Portland Trailblazers, they'd wipe the floor with them, but the Washington Wizards, I think Sydney could put a real good showing against Washington and possibly come out with a win against them.
There's a chance.
This team is just probably one of the best NBL teams we've ever seen. Some of these guys could definitely be on an NBA roster.
I mean, they were.
Xavier Cooks had a bit of a run.
On the Wizards
On the Wizards, yeah. So, I mean, the way they just gel together and they're so stacked, I think they could go over there and beat some NBA teams.
It'd cause problems, especially with preseason NBA, because they don't play their starters for more than, I'd say, 20 minutes? Probably the max for NBA preseason. So, yeah, you know what? Not even a hot take. It's actually quite a logical take, considering how stacked Sydney is. But,
probably the best basketball team in the world outside of the NBA, I'd say. They're up there.
That would be hard. It's hard to say because I don't know what Europe looks like, because my European knowledge for basketball is very weak. But with a team with that much firepower from, I don't know, they probably got 6 or 7 guys. Like, even got someone like Jalen Galloway, who also signed a two-way or a deal with the Bucks in the offseason and went over and trained with them. People thought he was going to be on the Bucks to start the NBA season, but got waived. That's another player that's almost proved that he could play in that next level. And that's just another player that comes off the bench for the Sydney Kings.
Crazy.
A ridiculous amount of talent. So, yeah, you're not wrong. Throw them over to the US and play, a pretty below-average team like the Wizards. I won't say the Blazers because I'm not an ass. And you never know. Maybe they could have gotten a dub. Second to last game of the round? One of them is still alive, but what's the second to last game of the round?
Second to last game of the round, we had the Cairns Taipans, again, getting another win against Melbourne United.
Did not see this one coming.
Yeah, this was another upset alert. Rob Edwards for Cairns. He's looking like a bucket. 23 points. I think Cairns are looking like they could also be a sneaky pick in that top 6 seed. I know we both had them. Well, I'll speak for myself, but I had them finishing last.
I had them dead
on the
last.
NBL season.
Dead last.
So to go out there and beat a defending finalist team, big win for Cairns.
Absolutely.
They had 6 players in double digits as well.
Crazy.
So they're one of those teams that have got depth and a great starting 5 as well. So
yeah.
The sky's the limit for Cairns.
It was funny because I had a conversation with a good friend of mine, Dylan Wilkie, and it was the first round of the NBL. And we were watching Cairns play, and they looked pretty rubbish. And he had a hot take that Rob Edwards, the import guard for Cairns, wasn't going to last more than 5 games.
Wow.
We were just kind of talking about it. He didn't look like he was fitting in well and looked like a bit of a cancer on the court. He's proving otherwise. He looks like he's fitting in just right with the boys. 6 players in double digits is exactly what you want to see in an NBL team. Shout out Sam Wardenberg, the Kiwi stretch 4 that's out there. He's actually having a pretty good year as well. So shout out to Sam Wardenberg. But definitely proving us wrong, Will. I won't lie.
I think it's safe to say Rob Edwards will still be in the NBL after 5 games.
I think so too.
But we're here for the hot takes.
We're always here for the hot takes. And it's funny because I think early on, it's safe to say that the NBL is so wide open. It is so wide open. We had so many predictions at the start of the year. Teams would be bad. They'd lose games early on. It's all over the place.
It is.
It's all over the place. You have Melbourne dropping games against Cairns. You have Sydney dropping a game against the Hawks last round. You've got teams like Adelaide who are causing upsets against the Hawks this round. It's so all over the place. Teams still figuring out where they want to be. It's really cool to see that this is an incredibly competitive league, probably a very well-rounded league too, which I was scared some teams were going to be the easy beats. But they're already proving us wrong 3 rounds in. This could change as teams still gel. But it's cool to see that this is going to be a really good year of NBL basketball. And there's going to be a bunch of games that are going to be unpredictable. And it's going to be fun. And I'm really looking forward to it because there's players that are already surprising me.
Yeah, I think the only team that we've both been kind of spot on about so far would be Tassie. We both didn't see them having a very good year going forwards. Definitely not in title contention again, let alone even the playoffs at this point. They have really been struggling. But aside from that, yeah, every team, they're kind of just shaking the league up. So it's going to be interesting to see going forwards. Sorry to slander the Tassie Jack Jumpers
and
there.
Southeast Melbourne also, they are 0-4.
Yeah, I saw.
Did not see that one coming.
No.
You and I both talked about this. Derek Walton, we thought was going to have a pretty good year.
Quite high on him.
And the rest of their roster was pretty talented. Like Matt Hurst has been putting up crazy numbers. They're 0-4.
Again, it is early days.
It is really early days, and it's a long season. I think it's a 30-game season, so they obviously have the opportunity to turn around. But they just aren't clicking yet, and the thing is, with a short NBL season with 30 games, the earlier games are the most important ones, because that's where you want to get all your wins.
Yeah.
So, Southeast Melbourne already going 0-4, not looking good for them, unless they can somehow turn around and go on a big winning streak. But at the moment, man, they're not proving anything to me, so... Yeah. Had high hopes in them early on, but they're already showing me that they might be a wooden spooner.
Yeah, lots to come, many rounds to come, but it's going to be an interesting season. But let's get into the game of the round, and it wasn't actually an NBL game. It was the NBL times NBA series. The New Zealand Breakers, our very own, they're the only team going over this season to play 3 NBA teams, the first of which was wrapped up in Utah against the Utah Jazz. It was unfortunate, 116-87 loss, but there were a lot of bright spots there. We came out 29 all after the first quarter. Did not see that coming, and we kept with them in the second as well.
Yeah,
we got to 47 all, I believe, at one point, and then the Jazz, they just went on a small little run. I think it was like 63-47 at halftime, and they just didn't look back after that. We couldn't catch back up to them, but a good showing in that first half by the Breakers. Lots of players to go in depth on, Finn. But first of all, your guy Taco Fall, what happened to him?
He didn't play. He suited up. Breakers announced very shortly before the game started that he suffered a minor injury in training camp. Not ideal, really. Can't have been that bad because I was watching clips of him dunking and stuff in practice, so he must have had a little tweak. There's 2 more games that he'll want to play in, so he's going to get reevaluated before the game against the 76ers on Tuesday. So he was on the bench, and the crowd was chanting, "We want Taco." Obviously, he couldn't play.
Signed for 3 games, and he's already missed 1. Don't really understand it.
Not a fan.
Yeah.
I wish he just played through it. It can't have been that bad. Like, he suited up. I think he was warming up too, so...
The crowd wanted him as well. You got to get on the floor, Taco. Even if it's for 1 dunk in the last 10 seconds. You got to give the crowd what they want.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if he does suit up against the 76ers. If he doesn't, next episode, I'm probably going to have a pretty strong opinion on this whole tour if Taco doesn't even get on the court for the Breakers.
Yeah. One thing that I noticed was, obviously the NBA, they have a 3-point line that's a bit further out than the NBL, so it was interesting to see the players adjusting to that. Coming out, they were cooking. Sam Menenga, he hit his first 2 threes, and I was like, okay, this does not affect them at all. Obviously, there'd be deep threes in the NBL, but they were hitting them all. Obviously, as the game went on, they started to struggle a bit.
Very short.
Guys like PJC, he couldn't find his rhythm. He finished 1 for 5 from the 3-point line. Not to mean that he didn't play excellently elsewhere.
As always.
Yet to see a bad game from PJC. I'll say it every week. Until he has like a 2-piece, which I don't think will ever happen.
Never. I don't think PJC scores under 10 points in a Breakers jersey this year.
Yeah, that's not even a hot take.
It's not. It's just not going to happen. It's like LeBron's streak of 10-point games. I don't even know what it is, but PJC is probably going to have something like that this year too.
Yeah, and Sam Menenga, I think he's locked up that center position now, Finn.
I think so.
Starting yet again. 10 points, 5 boards. Very strong start to the game. I think he scored most of those 10 points in the first half. But he's definitely looking like the better player over Freddie Gillespie throughout this game and all the previous games.
Yeah.
So I think that spot's his going forwards. And his front court mate, Jonah Bolden, I think he's almost locked up that power forward spot as well. He's looking like, he looked like he was reminiscing from his NBA days in that game. Finn.
Trying to prove something.
Yeah, shooting 7 threes yet again, but on good efficiency. 3 for 7. That's what we like to see, finishing with 13 points. I think if he can space the floor for the Breakers and hit those threes at a decent efficiency, I think he's going to be our guy going forward at that spot.
Absolutely. And we'll just run back to Sam Menenga very quickly. It's a Mark Walker Kessler for most of this game.
Yeah.
And Walker Kessler, obviously, he's a 7-foot, maybe even taller, 7-foot giant.
He made him look small.
Made Sam look tiny, and he actually did a pretty good job. And obviously, Jonah Bolden had to guard Lauri Markkanen as well, who's obviously an all-star last year. I think he shot 40-something from 3. He was excellent. You could definitely tell there was a bit of a skill gap as the game went on. In the early stages, we did keep up. And it was really cool to see. I was very surprised. I was messaging Will while he was at work while the game was on. And I was very confused. It's 29-all at the end of the first quarter. It was really cool to see, though. And we were keeping up, and PJC doing PJC things. Mojave King looked like just at home. He got drafted 47th overall last year, so he looked pretty at home considering he'd been playing on an NBA court with the Mad Ants last season, so his 3-point was still dropping considering he was probably used to that 3-point line. And it's funny, they're in Utah, and that's where the UFC event was today.
Yeah, altitude.
They would have been playing at altitude, so that might have had a big impact on the boys down the stretch. They looked gassed.
And especially also the fact that they're playing 2 minutes extra each quarter as well.
Yeah,
that they're not used
48-minute game.
Yeah, so I think that could have played a big part in it and why the Jazz kind of pulled away in that second half.
Yeah, and the Breakers aren't exactly a deep team. NBL standards, I feel like they do all right. But when you're matched up against an NBA team who has an incredibly deep roster with people that didn't even play, they're an NBA team. They have the best players in the world. Cody Williams obviously showing out as well. Johnny Juzang from UCLA in his second year looked incredible too. So, the Utah Jazz made the Breakers look silly in that second half, which honestly I did expect. The only reason we're over there, we weren't really there to win games. I don't want to it sounds kind of like shit. Sorry. From a Breakers fan, we're all the way over in NBA. Obviously, I'm rooting them to win some games, but chances are they're playing some of the best teams in basketball. So chances of them, putting up some good numbers, the first half, really positive, but obviously down the stretch, they were going to get blown out in the end.
Yeah. One of the highlights for me in this game actually was our young guy, Kareem Lopez, the 17-year-old. Obviously, I was expecting him to have some good games over in America. He's got lots of NBA eyes on him. It's probably going to be the most scouts at games that they're going to have all season.
100%.
You know, it's easy access for all of those American scouts to get to go and watch a game of a young guy like Kareem, who's already got very high draft stock, but having a game like this is only going to do great things for his stock going into the 2026 NBA draft. He finished with 13 points, 5 for 8 from the field, so very efficient as well. 7 boards, he was grabbing those. He had a couple O boards as well, which was really impressive. And defense, I've been saying it all year, he's looked impressive on the defensive end of the court. He had 2 steals and a block, which is good against NBA level guys. The only thing that he really needs to work on, and we saw it live at Spark Arena the other week.
Seen it all in the preseason.
His free throws.
Yeah.
He was looking like you out there, Finn, shooting 3 free throws.
What are you trying to say, bro?
3 for 8 from the line. He needs to get his reps up. He needs to work on those free throws.
What are you trying to say about my free throw shooting?
I mean, you've been good this season so far, to be fair, in our little men's league.
We got a hater.
But historically, Finn James, not known for his free throws.
I'd say career, I'm probably sitting at about 55%.
Might be better than Kareem Lopez.
It might be.
Rate, though.
It might be. But yeah, well, Kareem Lopez, I don't know how. He's looked a little bit iffy on an NBL court.
Yeah.
You take him to an NBA court and it completely elevates his game. I don't know if he is really good under pressure. He's got all these scouts watching him.
Yep.
The biggest international prospect from Mexico. And he's had an honestly, you got to remember, this kid's 17 years old.
So much, to be blunt, he's weaker. He just looks a lot weaker than every other player out there.
He's still a kid.
Exactly. 17.
He's still a kid.
And he's playing against these massive NBA guys like Walker Kessler, who's just an absolute giant. And he's putting up games like that. I think
really impressive.
Really locking himself in as...
He even tried to put Walker Kessler on a poster.
Yeah, that's bold.
Didn't end very well to him. We won't sugarcoat it. He got absolutely eaten up by Walker Kessler. But
on that note, Freddie Gillespie had a good poster dunk. I think the Breakers will...
We call that a poster?
It was borderline. Yeah. It'll be some more content for the Breakers for the next few years, to get off that Tom Abercrombie one that they post every year.
I'm surprised they haven't posted that yet.
Yeah. Have they not?
No.
Wow.
Give it 5 days.
Yeah,
Thomas Abercrombie poster and Jaren Jackson Jr. will be on the Instagram. And I guarantee it. But Kareem Lopez, I hope this tour of the NBA of America boosts his confidence. Yep. So I feel like that's something that he is potentially lacking in the NBL at the moment. A little bit of confidence. He's gone over here. He's already had a great game against an NBA team. If he shows out against the Sixers, shows out against the Thunder, it wasn't the Blazers, it was the Thunder. If he comes back and he takes all that confidence he had from those scouts from the NBA and brings it back onto our shores, he could really be a pivotal point in this team. Because the first 2 games of the season, looked a bit ropey, didn't play a lot. But Pateri Kopanen's trusting him and just putting him in these games against the Utah Jazz. He's doing good.
Yeah.
So if you can translate that to the NBL, boom, 2 years of Kareem Lopez, he could really, really be good for us in this 2-year stretch.
And hopefully he could get that starting small forward spot back because, as much as we're fans of Max Darling, we don't want to see Max Darling starting for the Breakers at the 3 spot. So it'd be great if Kareem, like you said, has a great little NBA stint in these NBA crossover games, and then he comes back and he works himself back into that starting small forward spot because I think that's the spot we're lacking on the Breakers at the moment. So, he's young and he needs to improve and he's got lots of areas that he can keep working on, but...
He needs to eat some food.
Yeah.
Put some size on him. Get him in the gym. Obviously, he's 17. He might still be growing.
Get him some kiwi, meat and cheese pies. Get him down, mate.
You know what's crazy? He's 17. He might still be growing. I think he already stands at about 6'7".
Damn.
He could, give him another year of growth, could get to a potential 6'8".
Could be a starting center for the Breakers next year.
Wow, let's not go that stretch. But... he looks good, and that's exactly what we wanted to see from Kareem, so I was very surprised with how he played, but surprised in a very good way. I'm very happy that he's taken this opportunity and really showcased that he genuinely is going to be a future talent in international basketball, which is sick.
Yeah, and it was great also to see the Breakers give all of their young players a good run out against NBA teams. It's probably a massive moment for them. Obviously, we all kind of grow up as NBA fans if you're in the basketball world. So for guys like Alex McNaught, Kaya Isaac, Sean Bairstow, and Carlin Davidson to all get to have a run out against the Utah Jazz, I think that would have been a massive moment for them. So that was great to see.
You can only think of the nerves some of these development players have. First of all, they flew business class over to America.
Yeah.
As a 20 or 22-year-old, 21, 22-year-old, getting to do that and play against Probably someone you looked up to. If that was me playing against Lowry Marketing,
Yeah, it's crazy.
one of my favorite players in the NBA, I would be so nervous.
Hopefully they were able to go up after the game and get some photos with
100%. Well, Pateri, Copeland, and Lowry got a photo together. Obviously,
they're
two
boys.
Finnish legends, bro. So they are boys for sure.
Yeah. What do you think of these other imports that the Breakers picked up? We picked up another 2 guys, Jordan Floyd and Chris Archer-Diacono. Yeah, I have mixed opinions on this. Well, not even really mixed opinions. I don't like it. Why are we signing 2 nobodies? No offense. Jordan Floyd, he played 5 minutes. Chris Archer-Diacono didn't even get on the court. Why are we signing these guys, Finn?
This further just goes to my little opinion I had last week on the whole tour, where I'm very on the fence with how the tour is for the Breakers. Yes, I think it's incredible for the growth of the Breakers, the NBL, and the players' opportunity to go out there and play. So why are we signing 2 American guards that have nothing to do with our organization?
Yeah, and they're not going to do anything for the Breakers season in the NBL. They're just, again, there for 3 days, 3 games. I don't understand it either. I'm starting to maybe come onto the dark side of your opinions on this, Finn.
I don't mind the fact that we're over there. I'm sort of kind of leaning towards this is a really cool opportunity. This is something that they went 2-0. It's great. It gives an opportunity for the Breakers to become closer. They get to fly business class, all that cool stuff. When you sign 2 nobodies they'd never met before, on top of Taco Fall, who didn't actually play in the first game, which is on top of 15 rostered Breakers players.
Yeah.
I understand they're playing 3 48-minute basketball games in a 7-day stretch. I think that is absurd. Their bodies are going to be so tired coming back to get back into the next round of the NBL. However, I just don't think it was necessary, especially when they're not even playing.
Yeah, guys Jordan Floyd, take his 5 minutes that he played in that game and give them to someone like Alex McNaught or Kaya Isaac. These young guys that could really do with development on the floor. I don't understand it.
It is a bit silly. It just further goes and builds onto my argument why I'm not the biggest fan of the tour. I think there's so many positives. But when the Breakers are doing this and giving guys opportunities that have nothing to do with Breakers culture or Breakers basketball, I just don't think it's really necessary. And I have nothing against Jordan Floyd or Chris Archer-Diacono. They're probably great people, don't get me wrong. And they're also trying to book their ticket to the NBA. But don't do it with us. This is for our boys back here in New Zealand.
For the Jazz, led by Lowry Markkinen,
of course,
as you'd expect. He only played about 19 minutes in this game.
Expected for starters, probably.
But he had 13 points, so... Good. That's his first game of the season, I believe, for the Jazz.
Yeah, it was
preseason.
the opening preseason game.
So yeah, good to see him getting out there. He could be in for another All-Star season with the Jazz.
It's gonna
One of the best players in the world.
Hearing it here first, Larry Markkinen, another All-Star appearance this season.
Also, Keontae George. I know you're quite high on him, Finn. The starting point guard for the Utah Jazz.
He's in my
took him in your fantasy.
Took him in my
team.
fantasy draft.
He had
Sleeper pick there, boys.
12 points and 5 dimes. So he's looking to build on that successful rookie campaign that he had going into his sophomore year. And you mentioned him before, Johnny Juzang, 19 points off the bench. He could be in for a good rotation spot with those Jazz if he keeps this form up.
Looks like he's built his three-pointer quite well this offseason. It looked really good.
Former UCLA guy, wasn't he?
Yep. He was there. Well, he was there with Hammy Huckers, I'm pretty sure.
That's right.
So they had a little good stint in UCLA. But yeah, Johnny Juzang, jumper looked pretty smooth. I think that's something that any NBA player needs. And they can probably inject him into the lineup, even though the Jazz are probably going to be a bottom 3 team in the West. But it's just cool to see younger players get opportunities like that for sure.
Yeah, they also had, I think they had the best draft of the previous year in the NBA. They picked up 3 guys, so I think were all kind of steals where they were taken. Cody Williams, Isaiah Collier, who of course played at USC with Bronny James, and Kyle Filipowski. So 3 great picks.
Kyle Filipowski was a steal. He dropped to the
30th,
I think
31st.
It was either early second round or late first.
And Collier was at 22 as well. So
late picks, and they're very, very good players.
Yeah, lots of potential. So it'll be interesting seeing them go forwards as well. They're a very young team with a lot of potential, as a lot of these teams in the NBA are at the moment. I think this is probably the most stacked that the NBA has been ever. There's just so much talent around the league.
Like the draft class that just happened, obviously no big standout players that will probably be an all-star at all in their career. That's just my opinion.
There's got to be at least one from every draft class.
Maybe. But from 1 to 60, that might have been one of the most well-rounded drafts in a long time. When you have someone like Kyle Filipowski, who was arguably one of the better players in college last year, dropping into that damn near second round, it really goes to show you how deep that draft board was. And they're probably going to have decently long NBA careers for sure.
Yeah. So that was a great outing from the Breakers against the Jazz.
They got 76ers Tuesday.
76ers and OKC. We thought it was the Blazers, but it's OKC. So we'll break down those games in the next pod. Make sure you guys tune into that to give our reactions from those last 2 NBA games. But moving on to this week's new poll, top 10 list that we're going to be doing. We've done point guard, shooting guard, small forward. So this week we're on to the power forwards. Just want to quickly mention that I finally won a poll.
Only took you 3 positions, but you did get there.
I did get there with the small forwards. Don't know what it was that made you guys vote for me, but we'll take it. Moving on to the power forwards. Who do we have this week, Finn? Do you want to start us off with your number 10 spot?
Number 10 for my power forward list, I have Julius Randle. This might be a bit of a controversial pick because he is a very up and down player and obviously just traded to the Timberwolves, so I'm not sure how much usage he'll get. But if he goes off my theory of Julius Randle having one really good season, then one really crap season, he's going to have a good season, so he's somehow slotting in at number 10 for me.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. He didn't make my list. I just think changing environments, it's going to be rough for him. And they've got, obviously, Anthony Edwards, who's going to have the ball in his hands probably like 60% of the time.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Timberwolves fans, I'm sorry, he did not make my list. Number 10 for me, Jonathan Kuminga. Again, this list is projecting who we think will be the best players by the end of next year, not currently. So losing Klay Thompson, I think Jonathan Kuminga is going to be that clear number 2 guy on the Golden State Warriors. You have mixed thoughts on this, Finn?
Look,
I think he's going to be that clear number 2 guy to Steph Curry. He averaged 16 last year. I think he's going to be in the 20s next year. 21, 22. Jonathan Kuminga, you heard it here first. He slots in at number 10 for me.
That's crazy.
Number 9.
That's crazy. Oh my god. And that is a hot take.
I can't stand the Warriors, just to put that out there. So for me to put him at 10, I obviously see something.
That's crazy. He has a high ceiling, a very good defensive player, but top 10 power forward in the NBA.
It's quite a weak position. Not much depth at the power forward spot.
Okay, well, we'll move into number 9 for me. I've got Oklahoma's power forward. I mean, he plays a bit everywhere, but for the most part, I think he's a power forward. J-Dub, Jalen Williams, had a really good year last year. I think he's just going to continue to grow on an incredibly stacked Thunder team and produce very valuable minutes for the team. And I think he's going to continue to just be that guy that they need at the 4 spot. So J-Dub at number 9 for me.
Yeah, same thing for me. I've got J-Dub at number 9. Everything you mentioned. I think he's just going to progress from these previous years that he's had with OKC. They're obviously a bit more stacked now, I think.
Yeah.
But his role, I think it's going to stay the same. He even plays the point guard sometimes, brings that ball up the court, and he's a great passer. So number 9, J-Dub as well. Moving on to number 8.
We have gone over to the Cleveland Cavaliers. I think it's a player that has huge impact on this team, a massive frame for a power forward. I've got Evan Mobley at number 8, who I just think is going to continue to just produce really good rim presence on the offensive and defensive end. He's starting to shoot a little bit of the ball too. Evan Mobley at number 8 for me.
Number 8 for me. I know there's going to be a bunch of you guys out there who don't like this, but I've gone with Spicy P.
That is really low, dude.
I know, you could put him high, and I'm a big fan of Spicy P, but I just feel like he gets the ball in the paint, and he just does the same move every time. It's that jab step, spin move, and then he puts up like a little hook or a little fadeaway.
Doesn't work.
It does work, but I'm just predicting that the guys I have above him are all a lot younger, and I think they're going to have great years. So I think by the end of next season, the guys I've listed ahead of Spicy P are going to be better than him, but still, he's a great player, that clear second best player on the Indiana Pacers, and we'll see what they can do this year, but I've got him at number 8.
Cool. We've got the same number 7. We've got Jaren Jackson Jr. at number 7. I think he just sustained an injury, so I'm not sure whether he starts the year or not. I'm not actually too sure of the severity of it, but I think with Ja returning, chances of him being able to space the floor a little bit more, which is, his 3-point shooting is a little ropey at times, but obviously he's won Defensive Player of the Year in the past, and I think that's definitely what he brings to the Memphis Grizzlies that is really important and impactful. Offensively, he's not bad, but I think the impact that he has on the defensive end and just being a good teammate surrounded by Ja, I think he's going to be good, and I think he could progress into another player as well. That's valuable on this team. He always has been. So Jaren Jackson at number 7 for me, Will.
Yeah, like you said, I've got him at 7 as well. Jaren Jackson Jr., one of the best defenders in the league. And people forget that Memphis Grizzly team. They were a very, very good team a couple years ago before, Ja went on his little fun spree that he had in those nightclubs. What an
Fun
idiot.
spree.
But yeah, he's at 7 for me as well. Just great defender, 3 and D, and I think Memphis is going to be a good team this year. So
I think so too.
On a good team, I think he's going to be maybe that's 2 option. Desmond Bane's there as well, but they're going to share the ball around. Obviously, Jar's going to be the go-to guy. In at number 7. Number 6, who do you have, Finn? We've swapped 6 and 8, actually.
Yeah, so I've gone with Pascal Siakam at number 6 for me. I think he was a huge reason why the Indiana Pacers had such a deep playoff run last year. Obviously, Halliburton had a bit of a stinker post-All-Star break. Was okay in the playoffs, but I think Pascal Siakam was probably one of the bigger reasons why they made it to the conference finals. Although they did get swept by the Knicks. They did get swept, right? I'm pretty sure they got swept, or maybe got one game.
I think they got one.
But I think Pascal has just really proved that he's one of the better players in this league, and I can't put him any lower. I think I just have to have him at 6.
Yeah, that's fair. Number 6 for me, we've swapped them around. You had him at 8. Evan Mobley, he's at 6 for me. I think, like with JJJ, he's one of the best defenders in the league. I think he's going to be in the running for that depoy for the next 5-10 years. Still a very young guy. On a Cleveland Cavaliers team, which I think when they're fully healthy, they're going to be a very good team in the East. Yeah. Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland, Jared Allen, great starting 5. And I think he's just that defensive anchor. Playing at the 4, he's a big guy as well. They kind of got the Twin Towers going on there in Cleveland. And I think he's going to have a great season for Cleveland. I
don't mind him at 6 with you. I think this list can be moved around quite a bit. I actually really do like Mobley as well.
The top 5, I think, is quite unanimous. We've got the same 5 guys in the top 5 here, Finn. Who do you have at 5?
So I've got Paolo Banchero at number 5. I think he had a really good year last year. No doubt about it. I just think his efficiency is a bit woeful at times. His 3-point shooting is really, really bad. But obviously 6'10", huge body, really dominant guy. If he figures out how to shoot some threes this year, he's gonna be really hard to stop. So yeah, I've just slotted him at number 5. I don't know how good the Magic will be this year though, but led by Paolo and Franz, could be sneaky pick to maybe slot in the play-in tournament.
Yeah, I'm high on Paolo. We'll hear more from him when we get to number 4. Spoiler alert. But number 5 for me, I've got Zion Williamson. I know we've pretty much swapped these 2 guys around, but Zion for me, obviously he's had very, very mixed years. You know, he's shown his potential as one of the best players in the league. When he's on form, he's just incredible. Obviously one of the most athletic players we've ever seen in the NBA. Such a big frame as well. Very, very strong player. But it's just hard to get a fully healthy season out of Zion. So I just couldn't find myself putting him any high. And I think he's kind of already reached that peak where I don't think he's really going to be able to go much further. I know there'll be guys out there. Shout out Liam. He sees a very good season incoming for Zion, but I couldn't put him any higher. He's at number 5 for me. Number 4 for you, Finn?
Yeah, so like you said, with the little swapsies, I've got Zion at 4. He's looking pretty slim in off-season. I've seen a few photos, media day. He looks a bit slimmer. But like you said, Will, it honestly just comes down to his availability this year. Sort of like a Kawhi Leonard pick as well.
Yeah, he could be like in the top 3 if he's fully healthy.
100%.
And has a great year.
But he's incredibly efficient. Like the way he scores around the rim is insane. His efficiency in the paint is, I think, one of the highest in the NBA. So incredibly dominant force around there. You can't really stop him. If he stays healthy, his knees don't shatter. I think he could be really good on the Pelicans this year. So yeah, I've got him at 4.
And also, last note on him. I always think back when I think of Zion, that first game. I think it was his first game he had as a rookie coming into the league, and he hit 4 threes, and he just looked like Steph Curry out there. I want to see more of that from Zion. Like, work on that 3-point shot, and make sure that you're a threat, so people have to close out on you on that 3-point line, and then you can just get by them. And the rest is history. You're going to put a bunch of guys on posters if you're able to do that this year. But number 4 for me, Paolo. Swap them. I think he's going to have a great year. I think he was the best rookie, clearly, from that class last year. And obviously the number 1 option on the Orlando Magic. And did they make the playoffs last year? Sorry, I'm having a blank.
Honestly can't remember.
I think they did make the playoffs last year, or at least the play-in. The Orlando Magic.
I think they did, yeah.
So they're a good team, and he's obviously the leader of that team with guys like Franz Wagner around him as well. I just think he's going to continue to progress. He hasn't reached his peak yet. That's the only reason why I put him ahead of Zion, but he's at number 4 for me. Number 3, I think, is unanimous, and I think it's also unanimous in this order as well.
1, 2, and 3, we've got the exact same list, and I think there's honestly probably, I don't even think there's an argument around this list either. Will.
No, not really.
So we'll start at 3. Will and I have both gone for Jason Tatum. Obviously, just come off a championship year. He wasn't even the best player on his team come finals. So I've got Tatum at 3. It'll be interesting to see how he goes this year with someone like Jaylen Brown continuing to really show that he might turn into this first option on Boston.
I want to see it. I like Jaylen Brown. I've always thought that needs more of a bigger role there in Boston, and we saw it in the finals, winning finals MVP. Tatum kind of taking a back step. He didn't really show up in that final series, although they have such a stacked team, they were able to get over the line anyways. But yeah, I think 3 is the perfect spot for Tatum. Yeah. Definitely not better than the guys that we have at 1 and 2. Yeah. At number 2, we have KD.
No surprises.
Just consistently being one of the best players in NBA history.
Yeah.
Just the Slim Reaper, 7 foot, and he can just shoot from anywhere on the court. That pull-up hezzy of his, it's just unguardable. KD, he's in at 2 for us.
Just be interesting to see how the Suns go this year. Obviously, it was a bit of a failed experiment last year, but with a new coach and some point guards around them this year, they can sort of ship off Devin Booker to that 2 spot potentially. It'll be interesting to see how they gel. I really want KD to have a good year. I absolutely love his game and been a huge fan of him ever since I started watching the NBA. So
yeah,
shout
I'm
out
not gonna lie. I went through a little phase where I couldn't stand KD. I think there's a lot of you out there as well. When he signed with the Golden State Warriors, he got a lot of hate for just going to an absolute stacked team. I was one of those haters. But as the years have gone on, I just can't help but love watching this guy play basketball. He's one of the most entertaining guys to watch. And he's become one of my favorite players in the league. So,
100%.
Like you said, I hope he has a great year. Stays injury-free. He's getting older. But he's still looking kind of like LeBron James. Age isn't really affecting him. We're seeing it more with these guys as they're getting older. Steph Curry as well is another one. And at number 1, do you want to mention him, Finn? I think it's pretty unanimous.
Yeah, Greek Freak, Giannis Antetokounmpo, obviously won DPOY and MVP in the same year, 4 or 5 years ago. Just the best power forward in the NBA, no doubt about it. The most dominant player we've seen in recent years for sure. If he's coming down the lane, you're not going to stop him. His jump shot's coming along a little bit in the last few seasons too, being able to stretch the floor a little bit. But dominant player, can't really say much else about him. He's probably the best power forward here.
Yeah, he's just
defensively, he's ridiculous too. Let's not forget about that.
Just probably the best player in the league 2 ways, and he's just unguardable when he gets a free drive down the lane. No one's stopping him. I don't care if you're Victor Wembanyama. Giannis is finding a way to get that bucket.
Yeah.
A funny thing I saw about him the other day, actually, Finn, they were doing some media with the Bucks. They were asking the other players, do you consider Giannis a vet now? He's 28 years old, but he's already had about 9 years in the league. So they were asking the players if they think he's a vet or he's still a young guy. What do you think he is?
He's a veteran.
He's a vet.
Yeah.
That's what I thought as well. But
somebody that's won MVP, DPOY, and a championship.
And 9 years of experience as well.
He's a veteran.
But it was interesting hearing his teammates' opinions on that. Some guys thought he was still a young guy. 28 years of age, still kind of crazy that he could have another 10 years as one of the best players in the league. But that's our top 10 list, if we want to quickly run back through them for this week.
Yeah.
And as always, guys, make sure you head to our Instagram and our TikTok, and you vote for whose list you agree with more. And tune in for next week, last one of this series with the centers. But run through your top 10 list for us, Finn.
Cool. So 10, we have Julius Randle. 9, Jalen Williams. 8, Evan Mobley. 7, Jaren Jackson Jr. 6, Pascal Siakam. 5, Paolo Banchero. 4, Zion Williamson. 3, Jason Tatum. Number 2, Kevin Durant. And at number 1, Giannis Antetokounmpo for me.
Yeah, and for me, we have at 10, Jonathan Kuminga. 9, Jalen Williams, J-Dub. 8, Spicy P, don't hate me for that. 7, Triple J, Jaren Jackson Jr. 6, Evan Mobley. 5, Zion Williamson. 4, Paolo Banchero. 3, Jason Tatum. 2, the Slim Reaper, Kevin Durant. And number 1, Giannis Antetokounmpo. That's our top 10 lists.
Still don't know why Jonathan Kuminga's there. We'll see how he goes.
Jonathan Kuminga, he's going to be the best power forward in the league this coming season.
Okay. We're doing it again. How are we rounding off the episode this week, Will?
Last award picks. This will be the wrap-up of this series. We're going to choose our Coach of the Year for the upcoming NBA season. Do you want to lead us off, Finn? Who do you have winning Coach of the Year?
Just plain and simple here. I think Jason Kidd's going to win it. Mavericks could potentially win. Could be the first seed in the West. So I just think often the best team in their conference or in the NBA sort of wins Coach of the Year. So Jason Kidd for me, William.
Yeah, and for me, I did a lot of long, hard thinking about this. I was tossing it up between a lot of different coaches around the league. But ultimately, like you said, it usually goes to the coach who's on the best performing team. So, with all that said, I think the coach of the year for the 2025 season is going to be Chauncey Billups. Yep, that's right. Chauncey Billups.
Sorry.
He's winning coach of the year,
Okay.
leading the Portland Trailblazers to a top 3 seed in the Western Conference. Going to be a stellar season for him and the Blazers. You heard it here first. Let us know down below who you guys think is winning coach of the year. Finn, any thoughts on my pick there?
Let's just wrap it up.
We're wrapping it up. See you next week, guys.